You're tuned in to Nightline with me, Liyana Hassanel. The top stories. Those above 60 and Sinovac recipients must get booster jabs by February 2022. Intel chooses Malaysia for 30 billion ringgit chip plant. And no mask Christmas and New Year's Eve gatherings. Good morning. Those who received 2 doses of the Sinovac COVID-19 vaccine will lose their fully vaccinated status if they do not get their booster shot by February 2022. Health Minister Khairy Jamaluddin said if they fail to do so, their vaccination status will revert to incomplete, making them ineligible for the facilities provided to fully vaccinated individuals.
Semua populasi berusia 60 tahun ke atas yang telah lengkap vaksinasi, tak kira jenis vaksin, dan semua penerima vaksin Sinovac berusia 18 tahun ke atas perlu dapatkan suntikan dos penggalak pada Februari 2022 untuk mengekalkan status vaksinasi lengkap.
Khairy said the move was among the government's additional measures to prevent another COVID-19 wave amid concerns of the Omicron variant. He added that the mega vaccination centres, PPV, would be reactivated to speed up the administration of booster doses, starting in the Klang Valley. The Health Minister also said travellers returning from the United Kingdom must perform daily self-tests throughout the quarantine period and report the test results in the MySejahtera application. Additional high-risk countries would be announced, and travellers from these countries will have to wear a digital tracking device throughout the quarantine period. On another note, the Health Minister said large-scale New Year's Eve and Christmas celebrations will not be allowed this year.
We are not allowing for big New Year's Eve gatherings, for private New Year's Eve gatherings, as well as for private Christmas celebrations. You will need to do a self-test before you go for those events.
With rising concern over the Omicron variant, Khairy also announced additional measures during Thursday's media conference to address the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. On the standard operating procedures for mosques, he said the Health Ministry has received many requests to allow the distancing to be as normal. But for the time being, physical distancing will remain in place while authorities see through the Omicron wave. Earlier, Malaysia detected the second case of COVID-19 Omicron variant involving an 8-year-old Malaysian girl who returned from Lagos, Nigeria on December 5th. Khairy said the case was detected after the Institute of Medical Research, IMR, conducted the PCR genotyping assay tests on samples of 52 COVID-19 positive cases among travellers.
Kes dan ahli keluarganya telah menjalani ujian RT-PCR COVID-19 semasa ketibaan di KLIA, lapangan terbang antarabangsa Kuala Lumpur. Mereka telah diberi perintah pengawasan dan pemerhatian di bawah Seksyen 15 Akta 342 dan diarahkan untuk menjalani kuarantin wajib di rumah. Keputusan ujian RT-PCR semasa ketibaan didapati positif COVID-19.
The Health Minister also said the result of the RT-PCR test taken by the girl prior to returning to Malaysia with her mother and younger sister was negative. Khairy added that the girl's father is currently under quarantine at a private quarantine centre after he arrived in Malaysia on December 12th, who also tested negative upon arrival. Meanwhile, 35 people that came in contact with the 8-year-old in flight have tested negative for COVID-19. Former Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad has been admitted to National Heart Institute (IJN) in the Federal Capital. In a statement on Thursday evening, the IJN said he was being warded for a full medical checkup and further observation. Tun Dr. Mahathir, who had served as the 4th and 7th Prime Minister, arrived at the hospital at 7 p.m. The Langkawi Member of Parliament, who turned 96 in July, had undergone 2 coronary bypass operations in 1989 and 2007. He was last hospitalized in February 2018. World's largest chip manufacturers, Intel Corporation's plans to invest 30 billion ringgit to build a new chip packaging and testing factory in Malaysia, expanding production in the country following a global shortage of semiconductors. Senior International Trade and Industry Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Azmin Ali said the latest investment bolsters Malaysia's role as a prominent site in Intel's global manufacturing network. Datuk Seri Muhammad Azmin said the planned investment in Pulau Pinang is expected to create over 4,000 jobs, as well as over 5,000 construction jobs in the country.
We are working very hard through MINA to attract high-quality investments, high technology, and certainly Intel is one of the leading global players in semiconductor industry. So we are so happy and very proud to have Intel not only to keep Malaysia as their hub, as their investment hub, but they are here to provide more jobs for us.
Meanwhile, Intel Chief Executive Officer Patrick Gelsinger said the investment will build a rich ecosystem in building up overall technology capabilities of the Malaysian market. He added the expansion in Malaysia is a key step of the tech giant's overall strategy to increase its capacity.
Investment of the next 10 years, so it's a variety of investments that are part of that. It will be expanding our existing capacity, but we'll also be adding another location as well to our facilities in Penang. And our work here already includes R&D. We will be expanding the R&D work that we do in country as well.
He said the new advanced packaging facility in Malaysia is expected to begin production in 2024.
100 days of the government administration managing a pandemic-stricken economy. Has the government made good progress? What areas need more focus? Creating a better and vibrant economy, what does it take to achieve that? Economist Professor Dr. Jeffrey Williams on Money Matters this Saturday at 5 p.m. only on TV3.
5 tahun berlalu.
Masa hadapan Sarawak terletak di tangan orang Sarawak.
Antara pembaharuan dan kejayaan.
Dan kita akan menggunakan the latest teknologi.
Perjuangan hak dan warisan.
Inilah harapan kita dan impian kita.
Kupasan lebih terperinci. Mandat Sarawak, Sabtu, 18 Disember.
Voters for the 12th Sarawak state election have been advised to go out and cast their ballots according to the time suggested by the Election Commission, EC. EC Secretary Dato' Ikmalruddin Ishak said it had, through the My SPR SEMA app, stated the recommended voting time for each voter. In a statement, he said that if the voters could not come out to vote at the recommended times for whatever reason, they could still vote according to the times available, from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m, or the times stated at their respective polling centres. However, voters are advised not to cast their ballots at the last minute and to always abide by all the laws, regulations, and special guidelines on COVID-19 prevention on polling day. He also urged voters who already know their voting information to go directly to their designated voting channel and to check their information in advance before polling day through the SPR website, My SPR SEMA app, or the EC hotline. Voters are also reminded to bring their identity cards and voting information records and show them to the first polling clerk to facilitate the checking of their names as well as for the smooth running of the voting process. He said a total of 1,213,769 voters out of 1,252,014 registered voters are eligible to cast their ballots this Saturday, while 20,360 were early voters and 17,885 voted by post. As rebuilding the economy is no easy feat, it is critical for Malaysians to remain united as the country navigates its way out of the economic downturn brought on by the pandemic. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said Malaysia's pro-business philosophy is evidenced by the government's commitment to the concept of a public-private partnership. The Prime Minister said this in his pre-recorded opening speech for the Global Chinese Economic and Technology GSET Summit in Pulau Pinang on Thursday.
Rebuilding Malaysia's economy will not be an easy feat, but it is critical for all of us to remain united as we navigate our way out of the economic downturn brought on by the pandemic. Having said that, I call upon the private sector to be the catalyst for reform, to drive sustainability and contribute to our collective goal of making Malaysia even more resilient.
He noted that Malaysia offers unparalleled advantages for investors not just as a gateway to ASEAN, but also to markets of the world, and several international organizations, in their latest reports, attest to the efficacy of the policies implemented by the government. He said, for instance, the IMD World Competitiveness Center ranked Malaysia as the 25th most competitive nation among 64 economies in 2021. And the World Economic Forum on the Network Readiness Index 2016 ranked Malaysia's 6th most digitally savvy government out of 139 economies. On investment, the Prime Minister said China emerged as the latest foreign investor in the manufacturing sector in Malaysia from 2016 to 2020. He said during these 5 years, the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, through its agency, the Malaysian Investment Development Authority, MIDA, approved 243 projects with a total investment of $14.91 billion, providing more than 50,000 jobs in Malaysia. The Dewan Rakyat will extend its sitting by 1 day to Monday to debate the controversial amendments to the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988 or Act 342. Dewan Rakyat Speaker Tan Sri Azhar Azizan Harun said the extension was made under Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob's authority as the Prime Minister and Chairman of the Lower House.
Selaras dengan Peraturan Mesyuarat 11/2 Peraturan Majlis Mesyuarat Dewan Rakyat, iaitu pada Isnin 20 Disember 2021, bagi membolehkan rang undang-undang pencegahan dan pengawalan penyakit berjangkit pindaan 2021 (DR20/2021) dibentangkan dan diputuskan Dewan Rakyat.
Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin has also agreed to postpone the tabling of the amendment bill on Monday. The move drew protest from the opposition bench, whose lawmakers demanded the bill be withdrawn and tabled at the next parliamentary meeting over concerns that it was being rushed through Parliament. Under the proposed amendments to Act 342, individuals could face up to 3 years in prison, a fine of up to 50,000 ringgit or both, while companies can be fined up to 2 million ringgit upon conviction in court, punishments that detractors argued are too harsh. The initial version of the Act 342 Amendment Bill 2021 had proposed a 1 million ringgit compound for companies, as well as up to 7 years incarceration or a maximum 100,000 ringgit fine for individuals convicted of offences under the Act. Thursday was supposed to be the last day of the current Dewan Rakyat session. Earlier, 5 bills scheduled to be tabled for the second and third reading in the Dewan Rakyat on Thursday were postponed to the next sitting. Minister in Prime Minister's Department, Datuk Sri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar, said the bills are Employment (Amendment Bill 2021), Control of Supplies (Amendment Bill 2021), Offenders Compulsory Attendance (Amendment Bill 2021), Anti-Sexual Harassment Bill 2021, and Independent Police Conduct Commission Bill 2020. Up next, 5 students remanded over bullying incident in Muar. Stay tuned for the details. Back. Media Prima Berhad, MPB paid tribute to the Pulau Pinang government under the stewardship of Yang di-Pertuan Negeri Tun Ahmad Fuzi Abdul Raza and its strategic partners in the state for their continued support of the media company. Its chairman, Datuk Sri Dr. Syed Hussein Al-Junid, said federal and state government agencies, government-linked companies and the private sector are confident to cooperate with MPB for the benefits of both sides, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Di antara tetamu yang hadir pada ini adalah daripada Kerajaan Negeri Pulau Pinang juga, termasuk juga jabatan-jabatan yang ada di Pulau Pinang, Kementerian Kesihatan, Jabatan Polis, Immigration, Custom. Dan juga kita juga menerima daripada Kedutaan Indonesia di Pulau Pinang dan lagi rakan-rakan kita daripada TNB, Telekom dan sebagainya.
Datuk Sri Dr. Syed Hussein said this in a speech during the Media Prima Appreciation Dinner 2021 at Eastern and Oriental Hotel at Georgetown in Pulau Pinang on Wednesday. Present was Tun Ahmad Fuzi, accompanied by his consort Toh Puan Khadijah Muhammad Noor, Trade Industry and Entrepreneurial Development Committee Chairman Datuk Abdul Halim Hussein, and MPB Group Managing Director Rafiq Razali. According to Datuk Sri Dr. Syed Hussein, 24 strategic partners had shown faith in the MPB media platforms and advertised with the company, especially in this year's special feature in conjunction with Tun Ahmad Fuzi's birthday earlier this year. He also said Tun Ahmad Fuzi has contributed immensely to the nation through his active role in the government, while placing priority on the well-being of the people as well as growing the economic stature of the state. In addition, he invited the public and private sectors to work with MPB, which has a comprehensive and effective media network. In Johor, 5 students from a secondary school in Muar district has been remanded for 3 days by the Muar Magistrate Court to assist in the investigation of a bully case last week. The remand order was issued on all the 16-year-old students by Magistrate Analia Kamarudin until this Saturday to enable the police to conduct investigation under Section 147 of the Penal Code. Earlier, 5 students were arrested for bullying their 14-year-old junior, causing the victim to suffer from bruises on his left ribs and had to seek treatment at the hospital. All suspects were arrested within 24 hours after the police report was lodged around Kuala Sungai Baru, Melaka, Kajang, Selangor, Kuala Lumpur and Johor Bahru district earlier on Thursday. Mass evacuations as Super Typhoon Rai slams into Philippines. This and more from the foreign front when we return. To the foreign front. Thousands of people in the Philippines fled their homes and beachfront resorts on Thursday as Super Typhoon Rai slammed into the country, with a charity warning the storm could hit coastal communities like a freight train. According to officials, Rai was packing maximum sustained winds of 195 kilometers an hour as it made landfall on the southern island of Siargao at 1:30 p.m. local time. It is the strongest storm to hit the disaster-prone country this year. Officials also warned that very destructive winds could cause heavy to very heavy damage to structures and vegetation, along with widespread flooding and rain-induced landslides. Scores of flights have also been cancelled and dozens of ports temporarily closed, as officials warned several meter-high storm surges could cause life-threatening flooding in low-lying coastal areas. So far, more than 90,000 people sought emergency shelter as the storm charged across the Pacific Ocean. Evacuations were still underway in areas in the typhoon's path. U.S. authorities released thousands of secret files Wednesday on President John F. Kennedy's assassination, a case that still fuels conspiracy theories despite the official conclusion he was shot by Lee Harvey Oswald. The CIA and FBI files show U.S. investigators spread their net wide and deep to find out if Oswald conspired with others in the November 22, 1963 murder that shocked the world. Documents show they chased down myriad leads from Soviet intelligence to African communist groups and the Italian mafia. They also show the extensive U.S. efforts to spy on and influence the communist government of Fidel Castro in Cuba, which Oswald had contacts with and which Kennedy had sought to overthrow. The 1,491 documents, many of them lengthy reports, were posted on the JFK Assassination Records page of the National Archives, which already has tens of thousands of record listings related to Kennedy's death and the investigation that followed. Kennedy's assassination has long given rise to numerous conspiracy theories that do not accept the official verdict that Oswald worked alone when he shot Kennedy, as the young president was rolling through the streets of Dallas, Texas in a convertible limousine.
To this nation's faith in history, the United States is second to none.
South Korea said Thursday it will reimpose coronavirus curfews on businesses and limit the size of gatherings again, as record infections forced the government to pause its plan to live with COVID. Following a rapid vaccination program, authorities eased restrictions last month to help boost the COVID-hit economy, removing limits on how long businesses could stay open. But new daily infections have more than trebled since then, with a record 7,850 cases reported on Wednesday. And authorities have warned that figure could rise to as many as 20,000 next month. Under the new rules, which come into effect Saturday for an initial 2 weeks, restaurants, cafes and other nightlife venues will have to close at 9 p.m. while other public places such as cinemas and concert halls will be allowed to operate until 10 p.m. The size of private gatherings will be limited to 4 people. The government has also urged those eligible for booster jabs to get them as soon as possible, warning about the pressure building on the country's healthcare system. To date, more than 80% of the South Korean population has been fully vaccinated. Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes team on Thursday withdrew their appeal against Max Verstappen's controversial title-winning victory in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Red Bull's Verstappen overtook the British driver on the last lap on Sunday to clinch his first driver's title and deny his rival a record 8th crown. The deployment of the safety car after a late crash at the Yas Marina circuit had wiped out Hamilton's seemingly unassailable lead, and Verstappen had the advantage as he was using fresher tyres. The furious Mercedes team had an immediate double appeal dismissed by the stewards, then lodged an intention to appeal against that decision, which they were required to trigger by Thursday evening. The team also offered congratulations to Verstappen and Red Bull, saying the F1 Championship title fight had been truly epic. In the meantime, Verstappen arrived at the Red Bull Technology campus in Milton Keynes in England as the Formula One world champion for the first time on Wednesday. The 24-year-old Dutch driver has made it clear that he wants to stay with Red Bull Racing for the foreseeable future. And later on Thursday, Verstappen will lift the World Championship trophy officially at the FIA Awards night that is being held in Paris, France. As we wrap up Nightline this time around, let's take a look at these talented artists as they use 3 pens to draw 3 portraits, including one of Manny Pacquiao at the same time. With that, I'm Liyana Hassanel. Thanks for watching and stay safe, Malaysia.